There's something you should know before you buy this camera. This is obviously not an action camera. It is not a digital point and shoot camera. Actually, it is not a DSLR camera, and it is also not a camcorder. This is a $1,300 consumer-friendly cinema camera. This means that when you buy this camera, you only buy the camera. To use this camera, you'll probably have to buy a lens. Now, you can mount this lens on the camera, yeah right, but that won't really help anything. You'll probably have to buy like 1 or 2 extra batteries, because the battery time on this is quite honestly shit. Now, you'll probably also have to buy an external charger so you can charge the batteries while you use the camera. Right, so this will turn the camera on and you'll be able to use the camera, but you won't really be able to record anything, which I guess is the main purpose of a camera. So to record something with this camera, you'll probably have to buy a lot of SD cards. And I mean a lot of big SD cards, because when filming in 4K RAW, well, that takes up a 138 gigabyte SD card like this. And to be quite frankly honest, an SD card might even not be enough. You'll probably have to buy an external SSD. Right, so we turn the camera on, you'll be able to see something through the camera and you can now record. But the next thing, sound. Yeah, it does have 2 internal mics and they're actually pretty good for its size and for the price, but you'll probably have to buy an external mic. So you go ahead and buy a shotgun mic, but it can't really mount on the camera as this does not have any hot shoe. So then you'll have to buy this big ass rig to mount this mic on the hot shoe, and also this handles the camera a little bit better. And when talking about handling the camera, oh yeah, this does not have any built-in stabilization. So you'll probably also have to buy this 3-axis gimbal stabilization tool, which is big enough to carry the camera's weight and also carry the camera, as the camera is quite big for a consumer-friendly camera. And when using this stabilization tool, you can put the mic on top of the camera. Oh wait, so you'll have to use a boom mic with this long ass cord which you can plug into the camera. You'll probably also even need headphones. But all in all, what I'm trying to say is just don't expect when buying this camera to have a full kit like you would with a DSLR camera. It is not the same thing. So this is not critique of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, because this is an amazing camera. I just want to let everybody know that you should not expect a full kit when buying this camera. This is a camera made to be rigged out. So this is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, which is the longest ass name for a camera ever. The BMPCC 4K. It is an amazing consumer-friendly cinema camera. And to think that it's only $1,300, and yes, you will need a lot of other things to rig it out, which will probably take it closer to like $2,000 or $3,000. It is still an amazing camera. So I'm gonna go over my top 3 favorite things about this camera and also my top 3 main hurdles about this camera. Of course, there are more than 3 positive things and also more than 3 negative things about this camera, but this will be the main hurdles I've had, because there are some small things which doesn't really matter in the long run. So one of my favorite things about this camera is that it is very, very consumer friendly. The design of this thing is very much like a DSLR camera, which makes it very easy to get used to, with this big battery pack over here which you can hold on to, and having the lens which you can adjust with your left hand. It does not have a lot of buttons, which I think is a great thing. So that is thing number 1. It has very sleek and very consumer friendly design, so it's very easy to get used to and it's very easy to just take with you and just start filming right away. Now moving on, another thing which I really love about this camera, besides all of its great specs for the money, 4K RAW, ProRes for $1,300, that is a great price. Feature wise, one of the things I really love about this camera is that it is quick to turn on and ready to use. Now if you look at this, I will turn on the camera right now and it just 3, 2, 1, boom, I'm ready to shoot, hit the record button and I'm off. And most consumer-friendly cameras will have this quick turn-on feature. With DSLRs or action cameras or even point-and-shoot cameras have this amazing ability to just turn on and get ready to shoot. But if we're comparing this to cinema cameras like Reds or Ariel XS, they are very slow to turn on, and even the Sony FS5 Mark II is very slow compared to this Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. Now, the last very, very great thing about this camera is the GUI. It has a lot of affordances. You know which thing you can push and which things you can change and which things you can't change. It's very easy. There's a lot of customizations, but it's not too hard to navigate in the menu. Now I've actually written a report on exactly designing and layout of GUIs. It is called restrictability. It's a new theory of concepts in the software development industries, which kind of sets some guidelines for how to make this kind of perfect GUI, consumer-friendly GUI. But that was the 3 things which I really love about this camera. Now let's get on to some of the hurdles. Alright, so first of all, and I think you're gonna hear a lot of people talking about this, about the camera, the main hurdle is the shit battery life. Now one of these LPE6 batteries will probably set you back like $30–40, and that gives you around 40 minutes of runtime on this camera, which is not ideal at all. Now I've seen a lot of people using V-mount batteries or other type of batteries, but then you have to modify some cords yourself, some chargers for it to work. There are also battery packs for the camera, which you put underneath the camera, of course, just like any other Canon or DSLR camera. But I like the idea of having these small battery packs, which you can just quickly change like this. But they only give you 40 minutes of runtime, which is not a lot when on a professional shoot, or actually just any shoot. But I will say, of course, the fact that it can turn on and off really quickly kind of helps a bit with the problem, because when you do not record, you can actually just turn it off and it won't really use any battery power. Now, other than shit battery life, this camera does have this big, very nice monitor on the back. Now, I do know that this is a cinema camera, and most cinema cameras actually doesn't even have a monitor. You have to buy an external monitor to be able to see the footage other than through the viewfinder. But this being a consumer-friendly pocket cinema camera, I would really have loved a screen which can just tilt like this or even flip. But just the tilting like this DSLR camera can, the Sony A58, it helps. It makes a world of a difference when filming a bit over your head. It's nice to just flip the screen down so you can see exactly what you're recording, or when you're filming low, you can actually see exactly what you're recording. To be able to do this on this camera, you will need an external monitor, which can put you back again like $200. Now the last thing, I know I mentioned this as being something you would expect from a cinema camera, but then again, being a consumer-friendly camera, the size branded as a pocket cinema camera, there are features where I expect in this consumer-friendly camera, which I would not expect in a normal cinema camera. This does not have built-in stabilization. The only way you can stabilize this, or there's a lot of ways you can stabilize this, but it has to be done externally. Either you can buy a lens which have built-in stabilization. Now that again will put you back a lot of more money than just any other lens. Or as mentioned earlier, you could buy a 3-axis gimbal. Now this actually wasn't that expensive. I think it was around $1,000 or something like this. This is a Hohem DG1, a really nice stabilization tool, but again, have to put this camera on, and well, there's a lot of other possibilities which kind of go lost with doing this. Now, of course, you could also just do this in post with the warp stabilizer tool in Premiere and After Effects, and probably also any other editing program. That is not ideal at all, as it sometimes kind of warps the picture in weird ways. The things I said in the starter video is not critique on the camera. Now that being said, there are of course some things which I expect personally from a consumer-friendly camera, which this camera does not feature. But all in all, for $1,300, a cinema camera, absolutely great price. So of course, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please go hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment if you enjoyed or want to see more like this. I hope to see you, of course, in the next video. Goodbye. I still have to turn off the camera manually, so I have to fix that someday.